A Colorado family is suing its local school district after they say their 11-year-old daughter was assigned a shared hotel bed on a school trip with a male student who allegedly identified as female. They say the Jefferson County Public School District told parents that boys and girls would be rooming on different floors. But according to the parents, that did not happen. That lawsuit cites the district's policy stating that students' gender identity, not sex assigned at birth, determines where they stay during overnight school trips. Those parents spoke about this case last year, saying their daughter was so distraught with the situation that she hid in a bathroom to call and tell them what was happening.
When I initially got the call, I was frankly in disbelief. As I talked to my wife, she followed up and said, yeah, this is what's happening.
So my daughter was about to climb into bed with this other child.
I felt like we'd been lied to.
She doesn't want to be mean. She doesn't want to be confrontational. She kind of looks up at me, and I'll never forget that look on her face. I can picture the room exactly, and just like, help me. She and I went back out into the hallway, and she said, Mom, I can't do this. Like, this is not going to work.
3 other families are joining the suit with separate grievances. Outnumbered has reached out to the school district for comment. We have not yet heard back on this issue. What makes this so challenging and perhaps frustrating and concerning for a lot of parents is this is a cultural issue that's being discussed among grown-ups, and yet the people being put on the front lines end up being children, like an 11-year-old girl who has suddenly found herself in a bed with someone that she perceives to be and biologically born as a male. And the semantics that go into this ahead of time, which many parents, as these parents thought, were misleading on the part of the school district.
And if you outlined that situation that you just described, that would squarely fall within the criminal code, and that minor or the parents would be prosecuted for that conduct. Here, the school district has made it part and parcel of the fabric of their field trips, their policies, and the lower court ruled that parents do not have the power and authority to dictate school policy, which is absolutely horrifying. And by the way, that atrocious anecdote, that just breaks my heart, that's one of many. There were many different sort of scenarios. For example, a non-binary minor who was in charge of overseeing biological boys, little ones, while they were showering, like the girl that was prevented from participating in activities because she did not want to sleep with a biological male. So look, okay, so the parents are suing, rightly so, and I have no doubt, just like many cases that we've discussed here, that even if the lower court activist judges rule in favor of the school districts massively overstepping their jurisdiction and the bounds of morality, that the Supreme Court will come in and correct this. However, they have not been able to, nor will they, remedy and rectify the psychological abuse and the harm that these children go through. So I won't go through all the legal arguments, but I just want to cite quickly a couple, which is that it violates students' constitutional right to bodily privacy, that the school's hiding or misrepresenting policy that violates their 14th Amendment rights, that using gender identity definitions of boy and girl is unconstitutionally vague, and that schools breach their duty of care. This is the one that I think sort of is the most impactful emotionally. That schools breach their duty of care when they misrepresent safety conditions and overnight supervision to parents. When parents allocate the protection and safety and care of their children into the hands of these adults in the school, it is incomprehensible to think that it has been absolutely mutilated to mean that the abuse and the harm and the horror is coming at their hands, but that's exactly what's happening.
And David, I think that Emily really reaches an excellent point here, where you're on the back of a young child. You know, do they trust their instincts, what they believe in their gut, and when they're surrounded by people that are looking at this from a policy issue instead of a humanity issue?
Look, the child knows the truth. But what these officials, I'll use that term, are doing is they're pushing this trans ideology and their own, and they're using, as you said, they're using these kids as the people that they will harm. You make an excellent point. We've talked about it before. The legality of this, I still want to know why there aren't prosecutions under disorderly conduct and other codes that govern. And I think, Emily, you've said it before quite clearly, you know, when it comes to exposing yourself in a locker room, it is not required to have a specific reason or act. The fact that you are exposed is, for most states, a violation of the law. So parents need to be going to the legal side of this and fighting this as well as the civil. That child has probably suffered some psychological effect, hopefully not too much from this. But they really need to focus on using the law. If I expose myself to someone accidentally or otherwise in the state of New York, I'm guilty. That's how the law works.
I want to bring you in on this because one of the lawyers said, Noel Sterrett, he's senior counsel with the Alliance Defending Freedom, kind of dug into this as far as terms are being used, like the dictionary terms of things, arguing that essentially parents and the students going on this trip are being misled by what they're being told, because the Jeffco or the school district says boys and girls, what it means is those who identify as such. Is this an issue of clear communication that's not happening between the parents, between the school, and a fallout that really just never should have happened at all?
Well, it's deliberate confusion on the school officials' part. They know exactly what they're doing by using this kind of vague language. And to David's point, the reason why parents don't have much recourse legally in this is because the left has successfully included gender ideology in the civil rights agenda. So now the rights of little girls who are being forced to share a bed with male students don't matter more than the rights of the so-called trans-identified student to identify however he wants. That's the real problem here. Until that's taken care of, there will be no actual legal recourse. One of the other elements in this debate that I think we don't talk about enough is the way that these officials respond to the students who dare to speak out against their rights being violated. I was reading some more about this case, and the reaction from the school was to punish the little girl who spoke out about this by actually ostracizing her from social activity and by saying, okay, well, you can't go on these overnight trips anymore. You'll just have to get dropped off during the day. So she actually was prevented from having the same experience as other students because of that. I think about another case in Virginia where male students who complained about a trans-identified female student who was recording them in the male's locker room, they launched a Title IX investigation into the male students who complained about their privacy being violated. So what people need to understand here is that this is the only way the transgender agenda works. It is so radical, it is so convoluted that the only way that they can get the public to accept it is by threatening to punish you if you don't. That is the problem here.
And Lisa, your thoughts?
Well, also the point is to confuse the kids as well. But you had mentioned a cultural issue. Cultural, yes, but this is a safety issue. Can you imagine being Serena Wales and your 11-year-old daughter calls you and tells you that she is being forced to not only share a room, but share a bed at 11 years old with a boy on a school trip? Can you imagine getting a phone call like that? Or you have the Perlman's daughter who has experienced sexual assault in the past, being asked to share a room with a boy or a man at that point at 18 years old. This is outrageous. And this is wrong. And my mind immediately goes to what happened in Loudoun County in 2021 at Stonebridge, where you had a male pretending to be a girl, sexually rape a girl, then was transferred to another school and then did it to another girl, right? So this is about protecting young girls. And so to have an adult put children in a vulnerable state, particularly at 11 when they're going through puberty, this is outrageous. It's disgusting. It's morally wrong. So it's not just a cultural issue, it's a safety issue.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.